Niels, what brought about this concept of the Athletics World Cup?
Well, pretty much 2017 actually, and maybe even before that 2012, where I just looked at the crowds in the stadium, biggest crowds you ever get for athletics in the UK, and thought, what do they want? Why are they here for? Because a lot of them weren't traditional athletics fans, and kind of asked around, and people loved the team and they loved medals. And I thought, well, if we can create a concept that gives people teams and medals, it's going to be a winner.
You've got 8 teams in the competition. Now, how did you arrive at those 8 teams? I mean, obviously, we knew Britain, obviously, being the host.
Yeah. No, well, it's very precise. It's done on the World Championship points table. So, yeah, when you run in a World Championships, you're obviously running as an individual, but if you finish first, you get 8 points. If you finish 8th, you get 1 point, and that goes towards the points table. So we just took the top 8 teams from the points that were won in the events that we've got in the World Cup. So it's absolutely statistical. We haven't chosen anybody. They've all selected themselves as the best 8 teams.
Okay, I think brings me nicely on to my next question. So possibly the makeup of it when next you host it could change depending on points. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So it won't always be the top 8. It won't always be the same 8 teams, but it'll always be the top 8 teams. So if we host it every year after a World Championship, then the previous World Championship will decide who makes the World Cup. So that's the beauty of it. And it actually makes the World Championships more relevant as well, of course, because people are fighting for a place, fighting for points for their team to get into the World Cup.
Unfortunately, due to various reasons which I can't go into, you've not been able to attract some of the elite athletes. Why is this?
Well, I disagree, actually. I mean, if you look at the stats, we've got 120 Olympic and world medalists coming out of the teams that are announced already. So that's nearly 1 in 2 of the athletes competing are either a world or Olympic medalist. 23 individual current reigning world champions. So we've got a really, it's a stacked field across all the teams. The only thing is, we only announced the event in February, and of course some people already had contracts. And one thing about athletics is people are honest in this sport, and if they've signed a contract to run somewhere else, they're going to honour that contract, and I wouldn't expect them to break that.
You must trust your brand strongly and the followership of athletics a lot in this country, considering on the second day of this competition, you've got Wimbledon men's final, and you've also got the World Cup final.
Yeah, that's right. But you know, when we launched it, we'd already done a lot of research, and lots of people had already said that they wanted to come. So we were confident that it would go well. And you know what? The timing is pretty good for us. Can you imagine if England were to win the World Cup football final, and then we go on, and Great Britain won the Athletics World Cup final a few hours later? It's astonishing. So, but our event comes at the end of an amazing sporting day. And the other thing is, of course, it's global. So many of the teams in the Athletics World Cup are not in the Football World Cup, and that makes it a bigger thing in places like China and America.
For some of these athletes who are taking part, particularly some of the British athletes, what would that do for them, confidence-wise, and going forward?
Well, it does a number of things. I mean, it's really important from a performance point of view. They get the chance to perform in a big stadium in a big crowd when the pressure's on. We saw some incredible performances from some of the young kids at the British Championships. You know, Beth Dobbin setting a British Championship record. I mean, let's think about that. The number of women that have never run as fast as she did in a British Championship. Can she do it again in an Olympic stadium with tens of thousands of people cheering on? You need these experiences so you can then go to World Championships and perform.
One last question. This Athletics World Cup, would it always be here, or is it going to be rotated country by country?
There's already a lot of interest from other countries, so yes, I think the likelihood is it will go elsewhere, but it'll always come back to Britain pretty regularly.
Thank you for your time.
Hey, no problem. Thank you.